Did you see that shit? MMA podcast. Hosted by mixed martial arts journalist Mike Strauss, aka Strauss21, and Chicago's number one underground comedian, Apollo Taj Mahal.
Yo, Apollo. What's poppin', homie? I told y'all. Well, I mean, not you, but I told everybody else DC was going to make it look easy, and that's exactly what the heck he did. All right, well, let's get to it, man. We have a jam-packed show. We're going to cover, of course, UFC 226. We have a new champ, and I think this champ is actually going to defend his titles, believe it or not. We'll also cover the TUF 27 finale. PFL 3 happened last Thursday as well. We're going to look ahead to this weekend's Bellator 202 card and the UFC Fight Night Boise card. We'll give our picks on those. Plus, we have 4 interviews. Ryan Walker and Steve Kozola, they're fighting each other in Thackerville. We had a chance to speak with both of them. We'll play the interviews. Also on that card, Chris Honeycutt. We caught up with him. We'll play that interview. And UFC Fight Night's Kurt Holobaugh. We will play that one as well. But before we get into that, thank you guys for all the love and support. Whatever platform you guys are listening to us on, just keep doing it. Be sure to like, follow, and share. Every bit helps. We make it really simple for you guys. You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, TuneIn Radio, and of course, our own website, didyousseethatshit.com. Don't forget about the YouTube channel, and of course, if you guys want to get more intimate, if you want to submit a question or just interact with us on the show, shoot me an email at mike@didyousseethatshit.com. Couple of house cleaning notes, Apollo. I am no longer writing for combatpress.com.
Oh, no.
I did accept a position with Low Kick MMA, and I've already started contributing for them, so you can find the majority of my work going forward will be on Low Kick. I still contribute to Cage Side Press and my MMA news as well, but Low Kick MMA will be the primary site I do contribute for.
So I want to take a quick second to congratulate you on that.
Appreciate it.
I've said for a long time that you are a very, very good writer. One of the very few writers that I actually pay attention to, even before we were doing this show together. So I just want to give you a huge round of applause for having this awesome opportunity. And go check out his 6 takeaways from UFC 226. It was an awesome 6 takeaways. We were texting the entire time during the fight because this card was just awesome, and you had a great article, and I'm very, very proud of you, man.
Well, I appreciate it. That is Apollo Taj Mahal. He's Chicago's #1 underground comedian, and of course...
So underground, you don't even know who the hell I am.
I am Mike Strauss, a.k.a. Strauss21. All right, Apollo, your dad fought UFC 226, Stipe versus Cormier. He only needed 4 minutes and 33 seconds to KO the greatest heavyweight champion of all time in Stipe. So now we have a new champ. This one, I'm pretty sure he's going to defend his belt. Of course, you saw that the melee with Lesnar at the end there. We're not going to talk too much about that because, let's be honest, that was way too WWE for me. But, you know, I know that you are a fan of Daniel Cormier. You have been for a long time. We joke all the time that he's your father. But in all seriousness, man, what did you think of the fight?
So I am going to completely fanboy the fuck out. That was amazing. First things first, he goes into the ring against one of the most accomplished heavyweight champions we've ever had. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to say he's the best, but I'm going to say he's the most accomplished. 3 times defending his title. And he knocks him clean out. Mm-hmm. Being the shorter man. He wasn't the lighter man, but he was the shorter man. Knocks him clean out. I was in a bar at the time. I normally don't watch these in bars, but I wanted to feel the energy of everybody in the room. Mm-hmm. When I tell you, everybody flipped out. Everybody flipped out. Being in that bar gave it a whole different atmosphere to that fight.
I bet, yeah.
Everybody was on the edge of their seats, and when he hit him with that uppercut coming out of the clinch, chairs flew. People lost it. And there was one guy in the corner who kept screaming, "Let's go, Stipe!" crying. And it was amazing. Daniel Cormier, just think about this. He was crying on television a year ago after getting knocked out by John Jones. And now he is the champ.
Yeah, it's funny how life works, right? The mixed martial arts is by far the craziest, most insane, unpredictable sport. I figured Daniel was going to win this fight. I figured he was going to make it look easy, and he did. But, more importantly than that, man, I couldn't for the life of me, and well, let me just say this to start. The commentary between Joe Rogan, Anik, and Dominic Cruz, I'm usually a fan of them. all three of them together. But on the 226 broadcast, I felt it was very unprofessional. I felt that they were biased, overtly biased towards specific fighters.
Yeah.
And the cherry on top, shall I say, Apollo, was when Cormier beat Stipe, and they lost their shit, and that's fine, but they acted as such. It was the biggest surprise, the biggest shock. It was like no one thought that DC was going to do this. I mean, one of their exact words, I think it was Anik, it might have been Rogan. Oh my God, he actually did it. Which implies that person didn't think he was going to win at all, but they were not in the minority. Matter of fact, I was. I just can't for the life of me understand why most people were picking against Cormier. Did these people not understand that the only reason why he walked out of the heavyweight division was because of his loyalty and his friendship to his friend Cain Velasquez?
He was ranked number 2 in the world.
The man is 14-0 at heavyweight. He's never been defeated. And you hit it right on the head. You are hesitant to say Stipe is the greatest of all time, but he's definitely, in the books anyway, he's the longest defending heavyweight champion, and Cormier made it look easy.
Yeah, before we move on, I do want to say this. I didn't think he was going to knock him clean out.
I did. Everybody's saying if DC's going to win, he's going to grind him. There's no way he's going to.
I didn't think it was going to be a grind.
I didn't say you did. Most people were saying if he's going to beat him, it's going to be a war. No way. Have you guys watched DC fight at heavyweight before? He is a supreme destroyer.
He is. I haven't seen DC fight at heavyweight in a long time.
No, none of us have.
Because the one thing I noticed when he went to light heavyweight, he did lose power.
Of course, you're going to, but he still had it. It just wasn't in,
I just didn't see the knockout. The knockout, the way it happened, was the most surprising thing for me.
It wasn't for me at all. And I sat here last week and I said, listen, Stipe gets caught in every single one of his fights. He recovers. DC will not let him recover. And he didn't. He caught him and he jumped over him, and that's it. Listen, until Stipe fixes those massive holes in his game, he's going to have problems with guys like DC. I mean, the biggest thing that I can't get over in my head about Stipe is Stefan Struve knocked him silly. And I know he's improved since then. And I know that was light years ago in fighting. Yeah. But listen, the bottom line is, at the end of the day, Stipe got knocked out by Stefan Struve. But he's got holes in his stand-up game.
He does.
You can't have those holes at heavyweight.
You can't.
You can't. A guy like DC, a Supreme Destroyer, will beat you 100% of the time. He did. And listen, the only guy that's going to beat DC is DC.
And John Jones.
When he's cheating.
Yeah, when he's cheating. One quick question before we move on. Brock Lesnar, steroids or no steroids? What are we getting?
Really, nigga?
Oh, man. Well, let's say, assuming that fight does happen, and there's a lot of things that got to fall into place.
It has to happen in January.
Well, because he's got the 6-month suspension, Brock, and he's still got to pass draw. If that fight does happen, assuming Brock's clean and it does happen, I like Daniel only because Brock has no stand-up game, and we saw what Daniel just did to a guy that is Golden Gloves caliber.
Also, Cain Velasquez destroyed Brock. I'm going to say this. The Daniel Cormier fight is going to look a lot like the Cain Velasquez fight. Spinning, just keep spinning.
Derek Lewis and Ngannou, that was a shit show.
Where are my fart noises? Finally, I get to use my fart noises on something that means it. Use them now.
The stare down and the weigh-ins were more interesting than that. There was more contact there too, actually.
I just watched the stare down and was like, that was a good fight.
That was something. Derek Lewis takes a unanimous decision. That's really all we got to say about that. Mike Perry versus Paul Felder. This was interesting. Felder just wanted to fight. He went up in weight. He was actually the bigger guy, but man, Mike Perry seemed to have found a camp in Jackson that is working for him because he noticeably looked better. He shored up a lot of the loose ends in his game, and he got the job done, man. For better or worse, he took a split decision against Felder. What did you think?
We were texting during this entire fight. One, how the hell does Paul Felder ever make lightweight? I will never know, because he looked huge. But the one thing I noticed about Mike Perry is, one, both of them are just game. They do not care. They're going to fight. The thing I noticed about Mike Perry, though, is he looks so confident in there. And once he learns how to actually hold someone down, those takedowns are devastating.
Yeah, Perry's a strong dude, man. It's going to be interesting. I don't think that Paul Felder really hurt his stock. He could go back down to lightweight. I don't think that's really going to affect him. Or he could fight it at 170. But if he can make the 155, I like him there. I just think it's a better fit for him. How about Anthony Showtime Pettis and Michael Chiesa. This was a fight that surprised a lot of people because, let's face it, man, I think most everybody was in agreement that Pettis' best days were behind him, and then he comes out like a world beater and just absolutely looks fantastic like the old Showtime and submits Michael Chiesa, which is a super incredible feather in his cap with a triangle choke. Is there a better guard than Anthony Pettis?
No, and you could ask Ben Henderson about that guard. The one thing I took away from that whole fight is Anthony Pettis was the much smaller man in that fight.
Big time.
Big time. But he has something now that I think he's gotten with age that he didn't have before, is actual power in his hands. If you remember in his older fights, he never really had power in his hands. He would hit guys, and he would do spinning kicks, and he would do crazy stuff.
More of a combo guy.
More of a combo guy. But he was hitting him with right hands and stunning Chiesa, who, by the way, has a chin. Like, it's not easy to stun him. So if that can continue with Anthony Showtime Pettis having power, he's only, 31?
He's very young, man. This is a feel-good story because for a second there, I thought I was watching the old WEC Showtime. It was very cool to watch. And, this is a little bump in Chiesa's road, but he said this is the last fight at 155 for him. He missed weight by 1.5 pounds, so we're going to be seeing him at 170.
Which, honestly, one of the very few guys at 155, I think, looks like a 170-pounder.
He's super tall enough, man. I mean, I stood next to him, and he is every bit of 6'3". He's a tall guy.
Just giant.
How about Roundtree defeating Gokhan Saki, KO, minute 36 in round 1? I picked Roundtree to win this because I just wasn't sold on Saki. If this was a kickboxing fight with his rules in a ring, sure, I'm going Saki, but it's not. It's a mixed martial arts fight. People were sleeping on Roundtree, and he blasted Saki. And in the same time, I think he derailed his hype train.
Oh, yeah. I'm completely off the train of Gokhan Saki. I think Gokhan Saki can be a decent MMA fighter, but he's never going to be what I thought he could have been.
And he's getting into MMA at such a late start.
Yeah,
it's just,
it's too late.
To learn all the disciplines and really master them. It's just, as you said, I think Saki can have an interesting career, but you're going to really have to pick his fights carefully.
Yeah. Roundtree, though, what?
Yeah, he's a destroyer, too.
He didn't just beat him, because I thought if he wins, he's going to take him down. He's going to use the full parameters of mixed martial arts to destroy him. No, he said, you like to kickbox? I like to box.
Yeah, people were ragging on him because he said a couple days before, I'm going to knock him out. And people were like, okay, yeah, you're going to knock out Gokhan Saki. Well, he shut everybody up.
Yeah, I'm now scared of Roundtree. At 205, he just shook up that division a bit.
Also on the card, Paulo Costa beat Uriah Hall in a great showing for both guys, really. And Drakkar Klose looked fantastic. But on the undercard, man, I think the lightweight division just got their most serious contender, Daniel Hooker. Oh, my God. He looked incredible in his knockout win over Gilbert Burns. Watch out for him. And a shout-out to our boy Max Griffin, who came on the losing end of a very close split decision against Curtis Millender. UFC Fight Night Boise takes place on Saturday. We had a chance to catch up with many of the guys fighting, but in particular, Kurt Holobaugh. Here's our interview with Mr. Kurt Holobaugh. I want to welcome back Kurt Holobaugh to the show. He has a big fight coming up here, July 14th, Fight Night 133 against Honey Barcelos. What's going on, man?
Not too much, just training, staying busy. We got about 16 days and just trying to stay healthy.
Not that you're counting or anything, right?
Not counting.
How's camp been, man?
It's been really good. I've had a lot of time just to sit back and work on, some holes in my game and really improve some areas that I felt I need improving in. And, me and my team, day in and day out, we're just constantly in the gym getting better.
Without giving away your game plan, where did you feel that you had holes in your game? I believe you're very well-rounded.
Yeah, I'm pretty well-rounded, but, my 4 losses kind of speak for themselves when you go back and look at some of the guys I lost to, which were some really good wrestlers. And so, I always try to improve my wrestling game a little bit and, work on some takedowns, work on my takedown defense. And honestly, I think that was really the only areas that may be holes in my game. So, I work, day in and day out with, some high-level guys on fixing some of those mistakes and some of the mistakes I've made in the past. And I think I'm a seriously improved fighter, even from the last fight.
Are you still at Gracie Baja or in Louisiana? Who are some of the guys that you have been getting a chance to roll with?
Yeah, we call it Gracie United Team Juncal South of basically Louisiana.
Okay.
And, I got some really high-level guys up here. Not a lot of guys that are out in the big leagues and, out on television and nationally and on the regional circuit. But, I got my black belt that's basically the founder of Gracie United Team Juncal South, Rafael L. Wenger. He's a world champion black belt, 260 pounds. So, rolling with that gorilla every day, really prepares me for anybody's strength that I'm going to come across in my weight division. I got my stand-up coaches, Jimmy Mills and Randy James. I work with those guys a lot in my striking, and then, some other teammates all throughout our whole team in Gracie United Team Juncal South.
So, man, you're only 31 years old, and you're riding a 3-fight win streak. You're 17-4. You're really putting yourself in a position, man, you could take featherweight by storm these next 12 months.
Yeah, absolutely. And, everybody can say I'm on a 3-fight win streak, but honestly, if you go back and look, it might have been turned to a no contest, but that's a fight that I dominated in the last fight on the Contender Series.
Mm-hmm.
So, you count that fight, take the no contest out, that was a dominating fight. I'm on a 4-fight win streak, and I'm definitely going to keep that going. I'm carrying everything over into this fight, just like I did the last 4, and I really feel I can give this division a run.
Are you a guy that likes to watch a lot of tape on your opponent, or do you let your coaches and stuff handle that?
Not really. Most time I just give my coaches, and I let them go over. They come up with the game plans. I do watch some them. I like to kind of get the feeling. I like to put myself in that fight as the start of the fight when they come out, touch gloves, whatever. I kind of like to put myself right there in that feeling and see how am I feeling, what do I think, what am I seeing. So I mainly leave it to them, but I'll watch a little myself.
No, you're such an easygoing, you're such a cool guy, man. Have you ever really just disliked someone that you had to fight?
Not really. I hadn't really, man. I've had 30 fights so far in my mixed martial arts career, and I've never really came across a guy that I just absolutely did not like. They had a few here and there that I never really talked to after the fight. We might have showed up, went face to face in the weigh-in, and I may have never kept up with or talked to again. But for the majority of them, I still talk to most of these guys. If I see them around, I talk to them, hang out, whatever.
Awesome. And then assuming no serious injuries or anything like that coming up here from the fight, how many more fights would you like to get in at the end of the year? Would you like to try to get another one in?
Yeah, definitely at least one more. I think I could do one more, and I would actually like to do it pretty quick. I think I'm always my best whenever I come right back off of a fight, and being out for the last year, it's going to be right at a year since I fought, which I don't think I'm going to have any ring rust or anything like that. It's not the first time that I've taken time off and came back and fought. But my last fight that I had, I basically took a month after I fought Jay-Z Cavalcanti. So I was already in shape and ready. And I knew how I felt going into that fight. I made the weight easy and, I had a dominant performance. So I would definitely like to take a fight pretty quick. I'd say 2 or 3 weeks, a month after this fight. I would like to get a quick call.
Very cool. Well, I always like to give you guys a few moments here at the end of, if you like to shout your sponsors, teammates, anything you'd like, man.
Yeah, for sure. My whole team at Gracie United Team Juncal South, my management, Sucker Punch Entertainment, my sponsors, K-Ray Construction, Cree Ultimatum, Monster Inc. Those guys are some local sponsors that have been backing me for a long time, and I really appreciate them having them and having the support. And, come July 14th, man, it's going to be fireworks. Me and Barcelos is going to steal the show, and we're going to put on a fight.
Well, I appreciate your time, Kurt. I can't wait, man. Fight Night 133, July 14th. I know that you always bring it, so it's going to be a great night, man.
I appreciate you having me on the show.
Anytime, brother. Take care. There you go.
I'm so excited to see him fight.
Yeah, it's been a little bit, man. It's been a little bit. He was last fought in the Contender Series, fight that got turned into a no contest because of just a misunderstanding. But I believe that Holobaugh is a guy that could really shake things up. He's a talented guy. TUF 27 finale happened last Friday night. Israel Adesanya outclassed Brad Tavares, takes a unanimous decision, and improves to 14-0. What is your biggest takeaway from that fight?
Israel Adesanya is ready for a top 10 guy.
Tavares was a top 10 guy.
He is ready for a top 7, top 5 guy.
Okay.
I think he is on his way to being a true contender. 2 fights, and I could easily make a case that he is a top 5 guy.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. Adesanya, I think the thing that people wanted to see was, 1, is this too much too soon for Israel? And 2, if it's not, how good is he going to look? Is he going to dominate the fight? Is he going to have his moments? Well, to be honest with you, man, out of the 25 minutes, I think maybe there was 1 or 2 minutes where Tavares, you could argue he was winning, but other than that, man, the vast majority of that fight was just dominated by Adesanya. I think you're right. I think he's ready for a top 5 guy, and he's another guy that is intriguing because he just seems to get better and better and better every fight. It's going to be interesting to see, man. Mike Trezano, he beat Joe Giannetti by split decision to become the 155-pound TUF winner this season. I like both of these guys. I think they both have a chance to be, I don't know about contenders maybe in a few years, but these guys are both exciting young guys, so I'm excited to see where their careers go. I am high on Brad Katona. He beat Jay Cuccinello via unanimous decision to become the 145-pound TUF winner this season. But watch out for that Brad Katona because he trains at SGB in Ireland. He has for a little while now with those guys about Coach Kavanaugh and, of course, Conor McGregor. This kid, I think in a few years we're going to be talking about him as a serious threat to the title. So
he scares the daylights out of me.
Also, your boy Alex Caceres, he beat Martin Bravo via split decision. This was a super important victory for Caceres because, let's face it, man,
he was on his way out.
Sometimes he doesn't look too good, but he looked great in this fight.
He reminds me a lot of Uriah Hall.
Up and down?
Up and down. Caceres his style is so fun and so flashy that he could be a true superstar if he just showed up. Mm-hmm. That's really it.
Roxanne Modaffari beat Barb Honchak via TKO elbows. She improves in the division. Roxanne Modaffari has been there for a long time. So has Barb Honchak. Modaffari might be one of the best fighters in that division to never hold UFC gold. I think she'll get a chance again. I just don't know if she is good enough to actually win the big one. We'll see. Also a friend of the show.
Huge shout out to our man, Violent Bob Ross Luis Pena with a crazy guillotine choke, man.
Yeah, he looked great, man. In his first official UFC win. Also, shout out to Steven Ocho Peterson. They both picked up victories at the TUF finale. Can't wait to see what's in store for both of those guys next.
I know. And I honestly feel Luis Pena, in a year or two, we'll be talking about him in the top 10.
Definitely.
He's a scary individual.
PFL 3 happened on Thursday. We're not going to spend too much time on this, just a couple of highlights here. Ray Cooper III smashed Jake Shields to get revenge for his dad and himself.
Mainly for his dad. His dad was crying tears of joy.
Is Jake Shields done? He looked like it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I feel so bad. I don't want to say that. But have you ever seen your childhood die? It first started with Toys R Us closing, and now Jake Shields.
Yeah, I'm going to hold judgment off to that till I see Jake Shields' next fight in the PFL. But, yeah, it didn't look too good for him. Also, Pavel Kuch, he beat Abukar Nurmagomedov for the second time. The first one was in a kickboxing match over in Europe. And then, of course, on Thursday, he beat him in the PFL. Your boy Rick Story, he got back to his winning ways. He beat Yuri Villafort in a very entertaining fight. And then Shamil Gamzadov beat Eddie Chuck Gordon in a very strange fight, we'll say, because I don't know what's got into Eddie Chuck Gordon lately, but he's an interesting fighter to watch. I'll just leave it at that.
I'm going to go rewatch that fight.
We caught up with several fighters competing this weekend at Bellator's 202 card in Thackerville. 2 guys, actually, they're fighting each other. Steve Kozola was brought back to Bellator. I'm super stoked for Steve. And then, of course, Ryan Walker is being brought in for the very first time to Bellator. They will be fighting each other in the lightweight division. I'm stoked, man. Steve Kozola is a big friend of the show. Ryan Walker actually is a former training partner of boy Jake Smith. So we had them both on. We had a chance to speak with them both, not at the same time. Here's our conversation with Steve Kozola. I want to welcome back Steve Kozola to the show. He has a big fight at Bellator 2-2 against Ryan Walker, July 13th. What's going on, man?
Just living the dream, man. Loving beautiful Southern California. Ready to go for July 13th in Thackerville, Oklahoma. Very excited for this opportunity. Thank you to Bellator for having me back and Tiki for making it happen.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. I'm going to be there, so I'll be able to this will be the second fight I've been in person to see you fight. The first one was at 175 here in Chicago, so I know you always bring it. What do you know of your opponent, man, Ryan Walker?
He was actually an old teammate of my last opponent, Jake Smith. He's a guy, I believe like 7-3, 8-3 record. Now he's training out in Las Vegas at Extreme Couture there. Pretty well-rounded guy, a good size guy. Guy's fought 185, down to 70, down to 60. I believe this will be his first fight at lightweight. And I'm curious to see what that does to his body and his mind, having such a heavy weight cut, and see if he can handle my speed and pace. So I'm really looking forward to this fight. I think it's a great opportunity for me to, show my skills and get myself back on the winning side of things.
Yeah, this is a really good matchup for you, I think. As you mentioned, a guy that is coming down from so many weight classes, you figure to have, as you said, not only a speed advantage, but you figure cardio to play into this as well?
Absolutely. I mean, the later the fight goes, the more a weight cut, especially if it happens to be a bad one, it's going to play on you. Because no matter what, a weight cut will play some sort of part in it, depending on how strategic and how well you are at it. I mean, obviously, if the man's fought at 185 pounds before and then 70, and then, the last one was at 60, so he's never made the weight before, so it's going to be uncharted territory, most likely for him. And then also to be at a big stage, which is Bellator for the first time, and be fighting someone like myself who's, just as experienced as him, but I have more experience on that big type of platform. So with the nerves, a hard weight cut, and somebody who's, they're going to be the fastest fighter they've ever seen, I look forward to testing his cardio and seeing what he's got in that gas tank in his heart.
Yeah, it's gonna be an exciting night, man. Bellator 2-2 is like secretly one of the from top to bottom, it's a really good lineup of fights. I'm super excited that Bellator brought you back. I know the last time we spoke, that was an option for you that you spoke of, and I'm very, very happy, man, that they're gonna bring you back. I think this is a very good opportunity for you. How has training been, man?
Training's been going phenomenal. One thing I noticed in my previous training camps with my last two fights, which I had, were both losses, my only two losses, was, I wasn't as focused on just fighting as much as I normally was. I took a great position at a gym as a fitness manager and was spending a lot of time just doing a lot of work, man. I mean, as a manager, you're obviously looking over trainers as opposed to just being a trainer, spending a lot more time at the gym. I was commuting an hour and a half one way, so 3 hours a day, 4 to 5 days a week for this job. And it took a lot out of me. I didn't realize how much it took out of, but it just took a lot out of me. So I made my proper adjustments. I went back to just coaching, no longer managing, and then just focusing on being a fighter. And I've seen tons of leaps and bounds in my training, in my mood, and in my life because of going back and listen, now's the time of my life to be a fighter. I can be a manager later on in life. That opportunity is not going to go away. I already have the skills, the experience, and the education to be successful at that job. But my fight life is running short. And it's going to get shorter every day. And it's just time for me to capitalize on this moment. So going back and reverting to just being a coach as far as my job, and then being just a full-time fighter too, has really shown in practices, my training camp, my sparring days. And I just cannot wait to show everyone what I've been working on these past 6 months and get back in the win column and show everyone I'm a top contender in Bellator. And another announcement, I guess I'll let you know first. This will be my last fight at 155. My last couple of fights I've been making 155 super easy, so easily that the next day I'm only weighing 162, 163 pounds sometimes, and going in there with at least a 10, sometimes 15 and 20 pound weight disadvantage for these guys who are coming down to 55 nowadays. I mean, these guys are monsters, walking around between 180, 190 pounds. I only walk around about 170 pounds, maybe 175 max.
Wow.
And when I'm in training, and when I'm in training camp, I'm only walking around at like 165, 166, like trying to keep my weight up, like eating massive amounts of food, trying to keep my weight up. So I know naturally I'd be able to get down and make the 45 limit healthily. So you know what? Ryan Walker's going to be my last test at 155. I'm going to pass that test with flying colors and let the whole featherweight division know what's coming, and they're going to be scared shitless. I promise you.
I think that's a good move for you, man. I think you're right. These guys at 170 are monsters, man.
Yeah, I mean, these guys who are fighting at 155 are, they're not even walking around 170, 175 pounds anymore. They're cutting from 180. When I trained with Kevin Lee, he was like 85, 90.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, they're just monsters. And when I look at the top 10, top 10 division in the major organizations, whether it's UFC, Bellator, or whatever, I know I stack up a lot better with the featherweights than I do the lightweights. And it's something that I look forward to, turning that page in my career after this next fight. But right now, the focus is lightweight. 156 pounds is the weight limit I got to make. The opponent's Ryan Walker. The date's July 13th, Bellator 202 in Thackerville, Oklahoma. So obviously 100% of my attention is focused on that. And we'll do the whole featherweight thing after.
Well, I can't wait, man. You said it perfectly. I always like to give fighters a few minutes at the end. If you'd like to shout your sponsors, anything you'd like.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you to Huntington Beach Ultimate Training Center, Dan Henderson Athletic Fitness Center, 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu in Oceanside, all my coaches, Manny Torres Boxing, John Schultz Muay Thai. I have the best team around me of coaches. Coach Paul Herrera, my teammates, Gio Martinez. I mean, my community around me, my coaches, my teammates, and my gyms make me who I am. So I'm always grateful for them. My sponsors: Monster Energy Drink, Clinch Gear, Quality Environmental, SoCal Fresh Prep, Pure Slabs, supplements. I mean, those guys are amazing people for giving me the support and everything I need to provide for my family, making sure I'm getting the best food, nutrition, supplements inside me for, preparing for this. So thank you so much to all my sponsors, my teammates, my coach, my managers. I love them. Really appreciate it, man. Thank you for the opportunity for giving me a shout out.
Well, thank you for your time. I can't wait, man. Bellator 202, you against Ryan Walker, July 13th. And this will be your last fight at lightweight. And I'm sure you're going to hit the 145-pound division with just ready to take over, brother.
Absolutely. Thanks, man, for the time. And I look forward to seeing you in Oklahoma.
I will be there. Thank you, man.
All right. Take care. God bless.
All right.
That dude is so awesome.
Very cool guy. He is fighting this gentleman right here, Mr. Ryan Walker. As I said, he used to train up in the Pacific Northwest with Chael and Ricky Simone and Jake Smith and all those guys. He is now in Vegas, and he has fought as high as 205 pounds. He's all the way down to 155 now. If you don't know Ryan Walker, get to know him. He's an exciting fighter. Here's our conversation with Mr. Ryan Walker. All right, I want to welcome Kyle Walker to the show. He fights at Bellator 202. He has a fight against Steve Kozola. What's going on, man?
Oh, not much, man. Just grinding. Got done with practice and then hit my chiropractor up for adjustment. My body's feeling good, ready to go in a little bit under 3 weeks now.
For sure. So let me ask you, man, chiropractor, I'm a fan of chiropractic work, but some people swear that it's kind of pseudoscience. But obviously you're a fan of it. You just got out of the chiropractor. But what do you say to those people that just think the chiropractor is nothing more than snake oil? There's a lot of people that believe that.
Well, a lot of people think it's just a gimmick. Yeah, I kind of, I can see that. There's a lot of gimmicky chiropractors out here in Vegas. I've been to some that, will just it's kind of like a spa. They'll, soak your hands in wax and, put you, in a warm chair, like a massage chair, and then pop you a couple of times and then send you on your way. I don't really feel like that's all that beneficial at the end of the day, but this guy does. His name's Nick Savachi. He's a great doctor. He actually works with Brian Couture. He's fighting this Friday as well. Mm-hmm. And he does ARP, the active release, ART, I think it's the active release therapy, and the Graston, which is just the scraping. He does kind of a more well-rounded, and then they put me in a traction chair and all that kind of stuff. So, I feel like it's really important. We're putting our bodies through a lot of damage on a daily basis. So, I think it's good to have a good recovery team. And I've done my research to find a legit chiropractor that does more than just the cavitations, the popping and that kind of stuff. Because that, for the most part, I think is not that beneficial. But if they offer a multitude of recovery techniques, then I think it's good.
Yeah, for sure. So let me ask you, man, what do you know of your opponent, Steve Kozola?
I know he trains at Dan Henderson's gym. I know he's from Temecula. I actually called him out, was trying to get him to fight me in his hometown this weekend. That didn't work out. We're fighting in a couple of weeks in Oklahoma, so that's just fine with me. I'll fight wherever. I know he's a striker, throws some kicks, has some heavy hands. My boy Jake Smith knocked him out back in February, I think it was. Mm-hmm. So I got to watch that fight. And, he seems like a tough dude. He's a good striker, but I'm going to, get on him and take him down and, probably grind him down. And, I find myself a pretty good striker myself. So, if he doesn't want to get taken down and grinded on, I'll just beat him on the feet.
I spoke with Steve earlier today, as a matter of fact, and when I asked him what he knew about you, Ryan, he knew so much about you. Like, obviously I did some research heading into this, but he was like, "Oh yeah, well, I know that he used to train with Jake Smith, who beat me last time, and I know that he used to train in the Pacific Northwest, and now he's in Vegas." He rattled off about 7 or 8 things that I didn't even know. So he obviously is taking you very seriously.
He's doing his research. That's good. He's been watching my Instagram stories and stuff, which I kind of feel like a little weird. I feel like I should Venmo him some money for the space I'm running in his head right now, but it's all good. It is what it is. I'm glad he's doing his research because I, as far as I'm concerned, I'm a completely different fighter from the last time I stepped in the cage and the last time I was in the Pacific Northwest. I'm getting great work at Extreme Couture, and I have a lot of faith in my coaches and the coaching I'm getting down here. So good for him.
Who are some of the guys that you get to roll with at Extreme Couture on a daily basis?
On a daily basis, there's a lot of guys that are like no-name guys, but they are beating UFC fighters on a daily basis. Montel Williams has helped me out a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Max Rashkov is a wrestler that was pretty highly touted when he was wrestling at North Carolina. Those guys have been doing the majority. I've been doing the majority of my training camp with those guys, and they're not names now, but you'll hear about them in the future. Amir Sadal has been helping me out a little bit. He has been back in the gym since he retired from the UFC, and he's been helping me on Saturdays. He's got a normal office job now, which is kind of depressing to see somebody that was in the UFC for so long just kind of having to have an office job. But he's been helping me on Saturdays, so that's been good. But my main coaches are Dennis Davis and Clayton Hires, who's was Chael's boxing coach and works with Uriah Hall now. And that's pretty much it. I mean, I don't have any big. I don't like to work with the big names just for the fact of, I'm not riding these guys as nuts. I'm not trying to, make my name off of anybody else's name. I'm making my name off my own. So.
For sure. You used to train at Gracie Baja in Portland with Jake Smith and those guys, right?
Correct.
Yeah, Jake Smith is a friend of the show. He's been on the show a number of times, man. Just that dude is so hilarious. Just such a down-to-earth dude, man.
He really is, yeah.
Why did you move to Vegas? Was it just for professional reasons?
I was in kind of a dark place up there in the Northwest. I'd been doing the same thing for years. My entire fight career, I've been either, going to college or working full-time, and I was trying to, get to the UFC or Bellator through, that, working, a full-time job and then just training around that, and it wasn't working out, so I, moved down, decided to make a change and moved down to Vegas, and it's a little bit cheaper to live down here. It's a different kind of setting, it's not gray and gloomy like it is in the Northwest, and I'm really enjoying the weather, and just the vibe down here is really good. A lot of the fighters are, people that gave up their whole lives wherever they were from and moved here to be fighters. So it's like really good vibes at the gym, which I love. I still love Gracie Baja and all the guys that train there. Jake was my roommate for 2 years before I moved down here. So, he's my brother, but I had to do what I had to do. That what I felt was right and what I felt was going to be the best step in my career, and I think the proof will show on July 13th.
Yeah, for sure, man. Now you've actually fought at a few weight classes above 155. You fought as high as 185? Is that correct?
I fought once at 185. The majority of my career was at 170. All my fights, besides the one at 185 and the last one at 160, were at 170. So. But I was pretty soft at 170. I wasn't, I've had some fights where I looked like I was in really great shape, and I had some fights where I looked like I was kind of chubby. 170 was never a hard weight class for me. So, with the shift in my training schedule now, and now I'm just training full-time, I'm walking around about 175, so 155 won't be a hard thing for me. But I'm excited to see how my body responds and what the improvements in performance will be.
Yeah, definitely, man. It sounds like you're handling it the correct way. Have you ever fought in Oklahoma before?
Never, no. I lived in Missouri, so I started my fight career out there. So the closest I've been to Oklahoma is Kansas City.
Very cool. Well, we'll have something in common. I've actually never been to Oklahoma either, but I will be there at Bellator 202 covering it. So
awesome. We'll
have to bump into each other, and
yeah,
for sure.
We'll have to shake hands and put faces with the voices.
Exactly. Well, I appreciate you doing this, man. I know that July 13th is a really solid card, man. I hope people tune in because I think you and Steve Kozola have a chance to really steal the show, man. I really do. I always like to give fighters a few minutes here if you'd like to shout out your sponsors, anything you'd like, man.
I wish I had sponsors, brother, but unfortunately I'm kind of a one-man wolf pack right now. So, I shout out to my coaches, everybody at Extreme Couture, my training partners, Dennis Davis, Clayton Hires. I shouted out Montel and Max already. Everybody at Extreme Couture is just super positive vibes down here in Vegas. So I'm loving where I'm at right now and just couldn't be happier. And I'm ready to put on a show July 13th.
Well, I can't wait, Ryan. I truly appreciate you taking some time with me, man. And Bellator 202 is going to be a good time. I can't wait to meet you.
Thank you, Mike.
Take care. All right, there you go. Bellator 202 goes down Friday night. It's headlined by Julia Budd and Dalia Nogueira. Let's just start there, man. Who do you like? This is for the Women's Featherweight Championship.
Man, this is a hard fight to pick.
Not for me.
Really?
I like Dalia Nogueira. I think she will become the new women's champion. And my reasoning is simple. Bud, she is a great fighter, but she is too inconsistent. There'll be moments when she looks like a world beater, and then there's moments when she looks like the world is beating her, to steal your line. Yeah, I just don't know what I'm going to get. I just don't know what I'm going to get with her. For that reason, I'm going with the undefeated Nogueira.
So I'm an optimist, so I like to look on the brighter side and think that she's actually going to show up. But you are right, Nogueira, she is a beast, and she is scary, and she is undefeated. I think that she is going to take this belt, but I have bounced back and forth several times on this. So I'm going to go with Nogueira, final answer.
Eduardo Dantas, Michael McDonald in a 135-pound clash. I like Dantas. It's just been way too long since I've seen McDonald, man. The last time McDonald competed was December of 2015. Bellator brought him over here to be the guy in that division, and he just hasn't done it yet. So I don't know what I'm going to get with McDonald. It's been too long. I know what I'm getting in proven Eduardo Dantas, so therefore I'm going with Dantas.
I believe in Michael McDonald. So I'm going to go with him in this fight. I think that they brought him over there for a reason, and I think he's going to show up. Yes, it's been a while, but man, that dude, when I last saw him, he was good.
Chris Honeycutt is fighting Leo Latit at 185 pounds. We also had a chance to catch up with Chris. We'll play the interview after we break down the Bellator card. I like Honeycutt. I think his wrestling is going to be the big difference here. Latit's a very tough guy, but he just lost to Phil Davis. And as you'll hear in the conversation with Chris here, I was like, man, Phil Davis basically just gave you the blueprint how to beat this guy. And, I'm not saying that Honeycutt is as an accomplished wrestler as Phil, but he's damn close. So it's going to be interesting, but I do like Honeycutt.
I'm going with Honeycutt in this fight only because of the Phil Davis fight. Phil Davis did give you the blueprint. You now know the exact way to beat this guy. So I think Honeycutt is going to take huge advantage of that.
And as of recording of this episode, there's only 3 fights listed on the main card. And those are the 3 we just went over. So in the spirit of ridiculousness, if Bellator does not promote the Gerald Harris fight to the main card, I'll be shocked, but we're going to pick that fight anyway because it's a phenomenal fight. Gerald Harris is fighting Yaroslav Amosov, who's 19-0. This fight will take place at 170 pounds. I like Gerald Harris. Amosov is only 24 years old, and he's already got 19 fights. He's very experienced, but I think the youth will be the difference. I think Gerald has just been all over the world competing for basically his entire life, and I think that will be the difference. Although this Amosov, he's very impressive. I just think Harris is a little too cagey of a veteran. So I'm going to go Harris.
I'm going with Gerald Harris because I will never bet against this man. But my one concern is when we did last talk to him, he did talk about how much he hated this weight cut. So I'm going to go with Gerald Harris, though.
And as I just mentioned, we did have a chance to speak with Chris the Cut Honeycutt. He's a longtime friend of the show, and I'm really looking forward to finally meeting him in person at Thackerville. So here's our conversation with Chris Honeycutt. I want to welcome back Chris the Cut Honeycutt to the show. 10-2, Bellator fighter. He's a middleweight. He has a big fight coming up in Thackerville July 13th against Leo Latit. What's going on, man?
Not much. Just, training and finishing up camp here. The last couple hard days of, getting the lungs blown out, and then I rest up and, get ready to throw down.
And, of course, you're referring to July 13th, Thackerville, Bellator 202. Your opponent, man, Leo Latit, he is 10-1. And, he's coming off a loss to Phil Davis at Bellator 186. And have you watched that fight? Because I believe Phil Davis basically gave you the blueprint on how to beat this guy.
Yeah, Phil's style and physique is obviously much different than mine. He's taller and he's long, so he's able to keep people on the outside. Me and my style is more or less in your face, and probably a little similar to what Leo's style is. So I think it's almost like two styles that just butt up against. It's just he's more of a judo guy, and I'm more of a wrestler. So I think it will be a little more exciting than his fight with Phil Davis. But there was a lot, and I did watch that fight a few times, and there's a lot to take away from it. Just because it went the full distance, and it was a decision. I feel like Phil could have capitalized on opportunities, but he's more of a point fighter. He likes to stay on the outside and do that. So, but there was definitely a lot to learn from that fight, more so than any of the other fights that I could find on him.
For sure. Now, in your last fight, you lost to Rafael Lovato. Now, we've gone on to see just how good Lovato is. He's legitimate. He's as good as they get at 185. You fought him better than anyone else has, and arguably you won that fight. I saw some people scored it to where you won. So, knowing all of that, do you want a rematch against Lovato later on down the line to show that you can beat him?
The fact that he's winning fights, I'm young. I'm not the youngest guy, I guess, now, but I'm still pretty young. And as long as he keeps fighting, I can't see why that wouldn't happen, regardless if I won it or not. I think he is one of the top-notch fighters in the division, and I am as well. So I think in time we probably will have that rematch. If not for any reason whatsoever than what you just said, is that arguably I won the fight. And when I did it, when the fight was over and they announced the scorecards, I mean, I was in disbelief. I actually truly thought I won the round, especially in the scorecards what they were reading. But if I would have the notion that I figured I lost the first round, not by much, maybe like a 10-9 round, but the second and especially the third, I thought for sure I won. But I feel like I controlled the fight, so that's all I did. And if I had any inkling that I wasn't winning the fight, I would have had more output. I would have fought on more of an urgency. But when I got him against the cage, he never really tried to get off the cage. He was very content with just using his 6'4" height and just dropping his arm around my neck and just kind of hanging out. I figured that maybe about 30 seconds or so that would give him, maybe I'll give him the benefit of the doubt because he is the best jiu-jitsu practitioner our country has ever produced. But I figured about after 30 seconds or so, he's never actually progressed into a better position since then. Or he never actually took that to the next step of actually submitting me or threatening the submission. So I felt like, if anything, that should have been more in favor of me because I'm not, I don't know, of whatever degree black belt or considered the world's greatest black belt for 2-3 years in a row, whatever his accolades are. I know they're astounding, but I'm the only person to go the full distance with him, and actually I believe I'm the only fighter that actually even go past the first round. And I watched his following fight. It was sad to see him not fight John Salter. John Salter was a black belt that I started my career off training under until he moved, and I was really looking forward to watching that. But I think down the road there's no doubt that we will run paths.
Yeah, as you mentioned, man, both you, all three of you guys actually, you, Salter, and Lovato are all the elite in that middleweight division, and there's no doubt that you guys will all cross path again, man. And you are always getting better. Every time we see you, you seem to add new wrinkles to your game. Without giving away your game plan, what's a new wrinkle that you kind of focused on for this camp?
Well, I mean, he is be wrong, but I'm almost certain, because I've heard it from several sources, he is a world champion in jiu-jitsu and judo. So obviously that's his strength. I believe his world champion credentials were for quite a few years ago, and from a couple of the black belts in judo and jiu-jitsu that are within driving distance from my place here in Fresno that I was able to work with a little bit. Also, that the game has completely changed since since then, and it's really probably not my highest worry, especially since I wrestled from 4 to 24 year round. That typically wrestling, can stop judo, and then with an exception of just a couple of things, which I worked on a lot throughout the camp. So I think his biggest strengths fall into my biggest strengths, and then what I wouldn't consider my biggest strengths, I feel like I'm better than him, especially in the striking. He doesn't really kick that much. Not that I kick a whole lot, but I'm definitely a little more busy there. So, like you said, not to get rid of the whole game plan, but I think just having maybe a little youth on my side and being a little more overall rounded, I should be able to, as the minutes tick down in the first and second round, I should be able to do more and more. And this should be a very exciting fight.
It should indeed, man. And before I let you go, Josh Koscheck just retired. Of course, he's a gentleman that had a significant impact in your career early on, at least. Have you had a chance to speak with him since he announced his retirement?
Not since he just announced it. We keep in contact a little bit. He by all means, he may be retired from fighting, but he is not retired. He works more harder now than he ever has. He's got his own company that he's putting the real hours in, the 35, 40, 45 hours a week. So I don't get to speak to him a whole lot, but he knows my gratitude towards bringing me into MMA when I was only 23 years old and right out of college. We had the same college wrestling coach and everything. So, he's pretty much given me the blueprint to follow the wrestler, transitions to MMA fighter, and then I was able to run with it. And then now we have, Deron Wynn and Ed Ruth and Ernest James here in Fresno. So we're all wrestlers making that transition to do great things.
Yes, you are, man. And Bellator 202 in Thackerville is going to be exciting. I should be there covering it in person, so you and I will finally get to meet. And you've always been good to me, so I appreciate you doing this, man. And I always like to give you guys time here. Shout out your sponsors, your training partners, anything you'd like, man. The floor is yours.
Yeah, no problem, man. Anytime. I look forward to meeting you as well. My Instagram and Twitter are both at Chris the Cut. I'd like to thank my sponsors. I don't think they're rolling yet, but there's Salesforce, it's the family company, and Oak Grove, and Zinkin Entertainment. So, it's the managers that make it all possible in the time the Fashion Week has been. So I'd like to give a big thanks to them, and I look forward to throwing down in 2 weeks, and hopefully, everyone, all the fans in Bellator are excited for the performance.
Well, I know we will be, man. Bellator 202 goes down Thackerville, Oklahoma, July 13th. I appreciate your time, Chris.
All right, thank you so much. Thanks for having me on.
All right, there you go.
That dude's going to beast and feast on everybody.
So before we get out of here, man, Fight Night Boise takes place Saturday. It's a really good card, actually, man. It's headlined by Junior Dos Santos. He's welcoming Blagoy Ivanov to the UFC for the very first time. This is a heavyweight clash. I like Ivanov, man. He is the former World Series of Fighting heavyweight champ. He's been doing this for a long time. If you guys do not know who Blagoy Ivanov is, you are about to get an education. I do believe Ivanov, within 3 fights, will be challenging for the heavyweight title. I think he's that good. I think he's that capable. And for whatever reason, this man has always reminded me of Zangief from the old Street Fighter II video game.
If this was 2 years ago, I would go with JDS all the way, but I can't. I'm sorry.
You're going Ivanov, too?
I'm going Ivanov, man. That dude, not only has he proven himself to be a champion in the World Series of Fighting, which has a pretty decent heavyweight division, I just don't trust JDS anymore.
Yeah, I don't either. Then you have Dennis Bermudez versus Rick Glenn. That fight will take place in the 145-pound division. Who do you like?
Man, I'm going to go with Baron Davis.
Okay, Baron Davis for 3?
Yeah.
All right, you're going Baron Davis. This is a tough one, man, because Rick Glenn has looked great since being with Alpha Male. He is on a 1-fight losing streak. Dennis Bermudez is on a 3-fight skid. This was a tough one for me to pick, but at the end of the day, I got to go Bermudez because I believe that he's not done, and I believe that he's going to right that 3-fight skid.
I'm going to go with Bermudez because I just said the wrong name.
It was at this moment that he knew he fucked up.
Oh, I thought you were doing it on purpose. I thought you were being goofy.
I was not. My brain completely just shut off on
Barrett
me.
Davis, that's why I said for 3.
Yeah. Wow, my whole brain just went completely off. I do apologize to everybody. Oh, wow.
Then we have Sage Northcutt versus Zach Otto at 170 pounds. I like Zach Otto. He is a very strong 170 pounds. I still can't believe that he gets down to that weight. He's got more fights. He's got more experience, and I do believe he's more well-rounded than Sage. I think that there's a lot of holes in Sage's game that were exposed, and I think that Zach is exactly the kind of fighter that can and will exploit those. He is just too much, I think, for Northcutt at this point in his career. So I'm going to go Zach Otto.
So I actually know these guys' names. I will not blank out. I'm going to go with Sage Northcutt on this fight for the one fact. If Sage Northcutt was at the same camp he's been at before, down in Texas, I would go with Otto all the way. But Sage Northcutt has been training at Alpha Male. His last fight, he looked very, very good, and he's taken time off. It looks to grow into his 170-pound body. If you've seen him lately, he looks huge. Mm-hmm. He's never making 155 again. So I think taking that time off to grow into a 170-pound frame and training with possibly the best camp in the world at Alpha Male with Uriah Faber and them is going to do that guy wonders.
So you go Northcutt?
I'm going Northcutt, man. Super Sage.
Then we have Nico Price against Randy Brown at 170 pounds. Who do you like?
This one is too hard for me. I kept bouncing back and forth. I want to say Randy Brown, but I'm just going to go with my usual no pick.
I'm a fan of both of these guys. Nico Price at times has shown substantial improvements in his game. Randy Brown is a guy that we first got to look at on Dana White's Looking for a Fight. He's had his ups and downs. He lost to Bilal. He came back and scored a nice victory over against Mickey Gall. So I'm going to go Randy Brown here. I just think he'll get it done. Although, Nico Price, if he wins, it wouldn't surprise me in the least bit, but I'm going to go Randy Brown here. Then you have Chad Mendez against Miles Jury in a featherweight clash. I like Chad Mendez. I just don't think Miles Jury is in his league.
No, I don't, but this is a great fight to bring Chad Mendez back after being out for 2 years because of some eczema cream.
Good point. Then the curtain jerker, Kat Zingano, Marion Renault, 135 pounds. I know you're a big Kat fan. Do you think she still got it?
Man, listening to her talk to Joe Rogan, I think she does. I think that she finally got her life in order. Because I think the biggest reason Kat Zingano hasn't been one of the top bantamweights in the world is due to the fact that she's been going through a lot of crap.
Yeah, that woman's been through a ton of adversity.
And it seems that she finally kind of has everything in order. So I'm gonna go with Kat in this.
I'm going to go Renault. I just think, Kat is, you spoke to it. She is a tremendous woman. She's been through more in her life than I care to even wish on my worst enemy. But there comes a time when a fighter just doesn't have it anymore. And I believe that Kat just doesn't have it anymore when it comes to being in the cage. It's a young person's sport. And I just think Renault is going to get the job done, and I hope I'm wrong, but I just feel like Renault's probably going to get it done.
Did I ever tell you the best way to use eczema cream?
So you're a basketball fan, huh?